If it's your first time in court, the main thing to do is to listen carefully to what's being asked. I think answering the question directly is very important. Judges are impressed by that. If the person keeps on point and doesn't circle around and talk about things that aren't necessary. Another thing to remember for anyone who is an immigrant or maybe a non-native speaker of English is all courts have interpreters who are on staff, and you have the right to an interpreter in your language, even if it's an obscure language you think, oh, they may not have an interpreter for my language, they'll get one. And even if you speak English, if you're not comfortable in a courtroom setting speaking in English, even though you might be comfortable in your day-to-day life, it's important to say, I'd feel more comfortable here with an interpreter. Because the words are so precise in a court, it's different from ordering a cup of coffee, and you want to be sure that you express yourself appropriately. In terms of behavior in the courtroom, the most important thing to remember is the judge is in charge. And when the judge is not in the courtroom, the judge's deputy, the person at the desk in front of him, is in charge. Silence is very, very important. There's an atmosphere of respect and a bit of awe for the law and for the authority in a courtroom, and judges demand that that be honored and respected. That's the main way to get in trouble in a courtroom, is to act disrespectfully. The best thing to do is to be very quiet, to be sure that you're seated in an area that's for the public, unless you've been told to sit where the lawyers or the witness or the jury sits, and you'll be directed to those seats, but to sit in the back. Be sure there are no watches that go off with timers or cell phones, any sort of electronic device. Keep voices down. And when you address the judge, if called upon to address the judge, to say Your Honor. That's very important, to address the judge as Your Honor. Another very important thing to keep in mind in any courtroom is that you can't direct your comments to another person in the courtroom. People can only speak to the judge. And it's tempting because it's not like conversation where you want to just turn to the other person and say, you're wrong, but you can't do that. You have to say, for instance, if you disagree with someone's point, Your Honor, I disagree with what was just said. From my point of view, X, Y, and Z. But that's the main rule, is you must always address the judge, and then he will resolve any disputes.